Stab holes punctured the walls, nearly 50 in total. The moment he sees this, I become his target. The moment he lays eyes on this, he'll come for me. And that's exactly what I want. I want to put an end to this.
Do not attempt to approach or confront Mr. Boyette. This man is a killer. He has proven that time and time again. They have remained on the move, and that mobility has been key to evading capture.
The moment he sees this, he will come for me. This is what I want. I want to end it.
On January 31st, 2017, at exactly 7:31 a.m., an employee at the Emerald Sands Inn in Milton, Florida, heard several gunshots coming from one of the rooms. They called 911 immediately.
This is the office. Emergency.
My manager and others told me to call you. They heard multiple gunshots from a room. I took my key and went to check. I knocked 3 times like I was supposed to. Then I unlocked the door, opened it, and saw her lying halfway in the bathroom and him on the bed. Everything was covered in blood. One was on the bed and one was on the floor.
How many gunshots did you hear?
They said about 7.
Did they look dead to you?
Yes, ma'am. They looked dead.
Police were sent to the scene right away. In room 107, they found 2 women's bodies, one on the floor and one on the bed. Both had been shot in the head. There was a lot of blood on the carpet and bed sheets. They also found several .38 caliber bullet casings scattered around the room. The women were identified as Alicia Greer, 31, a mother of 3, and Jacqueline Moore, 38. People staying at the Emerald Sands Inn were questioned by police. Before the gunshots were heard, a man driving a black Ford Edge SUV was seen getting out of his vehicle and going into the victim's room. This man was 44-year-old Billy Boyette Jr. Billy had a long criminal history, including drug trafficking, assault, resisting arrest, and many other charges. He had recently been released from prison, but there was a warrant out for his arrest. It turned out that Billy was Alicia's abusive boyfriend. He had attacked her after accusing her of stealing his drugs and money. She was hospitalized because of her injuries, and 10 days before her murder, she filed charges against Billy. Afraid for her life, she first hid at her mother's house and then went to the Emerald Sands Inn with her friend Jacqueline for safety. Armed with this new lead, law enforcement identified their first suspect and launched a search for Billy Boyette.
Deputies are actively searching for William Boyette Jr., who is currently a person of interest in this case. He is believed to be armed and dangerous.
On February 2, 2017, authorities received a tip about a black Ford Edge SUV spotted in the parking lot of a Walmart in Crestview, Florida, roughly 30 miles from the Emerald Sands Inn. Acting swiftly, police reviewed surveillance footage from the store's parking lot. The video showed a passenger stepping out of the SUV and making their way inside the store. Once inside, the individual wandered through the aisles for some time before purchasing a selection of camping gear along with more than 100 rounds of .38 caliber ammunition. Investigators identified the person in the footage as 37-year-old Mary Rice, who had been reported missing just days earlier. After completing her purchase, Mary was seen exiting the store and getting back into the SUV. Concerned that she might be Billy's next victim, authorities intensified their efforts to locate both individuals. The following day, on February 3, 2017, detectives were summoned to yet another crime scene, this time across state lines in Lillian, Alabama. At approximately 7:15 a.m., 52-year-old Peggy Brox had just returned home from working the night shift when she was shot in the face in her own front yard. At the scene, investigators recovered a bullet casing that matched a .38 caliber firearm, the same type used in the previous shootings of Alicia and Jacqueline. Peggy's car keys were missing, along with her vehicle, a white Chrysler Concorde. Eyewitnesses reported seeing a man hastily leaving the area in Peggy's stolen car, closely followed by a woman driving a black SUV. Police later obtained surveillance footage confirming that both vehicles had fled from Peggy's residence together. This raised new questions. If Mary was behind the wheel of the SUV, why was she still trailing Billy? Investigators now began to consider whether she was more than just a hostage. Perhaps she was aiding him. Determined to apprehend the suspect, authorities expanded their efforts, coordinating a large-scale multi-state manhunt with law enforcement agencies across Florida, Alabama, and Georgia. Their efforts quickly yielded results when the black SUV was found abandoned in a grocery store parking lot back in Florida. Reviewing footage from the store's security cameras, officers observed the two vehicles pulling in not long after Peggy's murder. Billy was seen exiting the stolen Chrysler while Mary stepped out of the black SUV. The footage captured the pair transferring various items from the SUV into the Chrysler before driving off together, heading east toward Pensacola, Florida. As the killing spree continued and Billy remained at large, authorities took to the media to alert the public.
Use common sense when going to work or returning home. Make sure a friend or family member is aware of your whereabouts and your expected time of arrival. These precautions might seem excessive, but given the severity of the situation, they are necessary.
The Escambia County Sheriff's Office announced a $21,000 reward for any information that could lead to Billy Boyette's capture, emphasizing that he was heavily armed and highly dangerous. As the investigation progressed, authorities sought to understand the nature of Billy and Mary's relationship. It was revealed that while Billy had been incarcerated at the same facility as Mary's brother, the two first encountered each other during a visitation. From there, they developed a correspondence, exchanging letters and becoming pen pals. Their communication persisted even after Billy was released in 2016. With a search warrant in hand, investigators examined Mary's cell phone records and uncovered a series of messages exchanged between her and Billy. On the morning of the day before Alicia and Jacqueline were murdered, at precisely 8:43 a.m., Mary sent a chilling message.
I don't want to have to take a whole bunch of people's lives.
Billy's response came 13 hours later at 9:47 p.m.
Mary, I'm taking care of some things I had to be taken care of. Sorry to alarm, but that's what I do.
After analyzing these messages, law enforcement officially identified Mary as a suspect and considered her an accomplice in the killings. On February 4, 2017, a man reached out to the authorities, reporting that he had discovered Peggy's stolen white Chrysler abandoned in a Florida field.
I found the car that's linked to the murder from yesterday.
Is there anybody in it, or is it just abandoned?
I don't know. Trees are covering almost the entire car, except for the back and the gas tank. I got close enough to check the tag, and that's it.
The vehicle had been left in a hunting area where multiple surveillance cameras were mounted on nearby trees. Fortunately, these cameras managed to capture images of Billy and Mary trekking through the woods. Billy led the way, gripping a firearm, while Mary trailed behind, carrying a white jug and several bags. Despite law enforcement's relentless pursuit, the fugitives always managed to remain one step ahead. Over the next 48 hours, Billy and Mary were spotted at multiple locations where they were seen purchasing food, drinks, additional ammunition, and various supplies. However, by the time police arrived at each location, the pair had already disappeared. During this period, Billy's brother, Brian DeWolf, publicly spoke about his siblings' troubled past in a media interview.
We had St. Bernards when we were kids and we raised them. One of them accidentally bumped into him and knocked him down when he was about 4 years old. He picked up a ball-peen hammer and knocked the dog out cold. Blame my mother for not coming up with $25,000 for his legal fees so he wouldn't have to go to jail. Everything is always somebody else's fault. Somebody made him do it. He has never once admitted to doing anything wrong. I was in shock the last time he stabbed that girl. I thought for sure he was done for. I remember the federal judge warning him, if you end up in my courtroom again, you'll spend the rest of your life behind bars. But they couldn't go after him, because the victim had a criminal record, which meant they had no solid case, even with law enforcement on the scene. There were crime scene photos, blood splattered everywhere inside my parents' home. Stab holes punctured the walls, nearly 50 in total. The moment he sees this, I become his target. The moment he lays eyes on this, he'll come for me. And that's exactly what I want. I want to put an end to this.
Not long after this statement, on February 6, 2017, At approximately 6:45 a.m., authorities received a distressing call about what appeared to be Billy's latest victim, this time in Bola, Florida.
Do you know what happened to her?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so she's been injured, and her car is missing as well.
Yes.
The voice on the call belonged to the sister of 28-year-old Kayla Crocker. That morning, Kayla never arrived at work, and with news of the ongoing killing spree dominating headlines, her mother and sister grew concerned. They decided to check on her, only to discover a horrific scene. Inside Kayla's bedroom, her 2-year-old son remained unharmed in his crib. Just beside him lay Kayla, her hands and feet bound with white rope, a gunshot wound to her head. Investigators recovered bullets at the scene, which once again matched a .38 caliber firearm. In addition, Kayla's white 2006 Chevrolet Cobalt was missing. Witnesses in the neighborhood reported seeing 2 individuals who resembled Billy and Mary at Kayla's house earlier. They were spotted leaving soon after, driving away in her stolen vehicle. Kayla fought to stay alive for more than 24 hours, but ultimately succumbed to her injuries. 4 victims in just 6 days. The urgency to track down Billy and Mary intensified, as authorities feared more innocent lives could be lost.
Do not attempt to approach or confront Mr. Boyette. This man is a killer. He has proven that time and time again.
He is heavily armed and extremely dangerous. He may not hesitate to use violence again to steal another vehicle.
What we are dealing with is nothing short of a living nightmare. In short, we have a murderer in our midst. He has been here, moving among us, and I urge everyone, every single person, to remain aware. Know what he looks like, be mindful of how he travels, and take all necessary precautions. He has made it very clear to numerous people that he will not be taken alive. So, we are asking, pleading, for the public's help.
Shortly after this press conference, investigators received multiple tips regarding Billy and Mary's whereabouts. Surveillance footage placed them at a gas station near Kayla's home in Bola. Later that same day, the pair were spotted at a Hardee's drive-thru in Crestview. 4 hours after that, Mary was captured on camera shopping at a Dollar General in Pensacola, Florida. Yet, despite being repeatedly caught on security footage, the duo, who now seemed like a modern-day Bonnie and Clyde, managed to stay one step ahead, constantly moving and evading capture. That changed on February 7, 2017, at approximately 2:30 p.m., when a caller alerted authorities about Kayla's stolen vehicle, which had been spotted outside the West Point Motel in Georgia, more than 300 miles from its previous location. Law enforcement swiftly responded to the scene, immediately evacuating the motel's other guests and establishing a secure perimeter around the building. A coordinated effort was launched involving the Georgia State Patrol SWAT team, the Troup County Sheriff's Office, and the U.S. Marshals Service. For 3.5 tense hours, negotiators attempted to convince Billy and Mary to surrender peacefully. Eventually, Mary complied. She stepped out of the motel room and was promptly taken into custody and placed in a police vehicle. Shortly after, officers forcibly entered the room, where they discovered Billy Boyette dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Inside the motel room, investigators collected a range of evidence, including blood samples, a .38 caliber handgun, an assault rifle, and various drugs. Motel employees later revealed that Mary had disguised herself as Kayla Crocker, using her stolen identification and credit card to check into the room. But after 8 days on the run, her time had run out. She was finally captured and transferred to a local detention center.
The search for a triple murder suspect and his alleged accomplice has officially come to an end. Billy Boyette is dead, and Mary Rice is now in custody. She was examined by EMS and showed no visible injuries.
While being held, Mary made accusations against Billy, claiming he had abused her and forced her to accompany him.
I didn't do anything. Yeah, man. He beat me up.
The day following her arrest, detectives brought Mary into an interrogation room for questioning. Unbeknownst to her, authorities had already tracked her movements through surveillance footage.
I didn't know what to do when they're in my house by myself. You know, so I went in, and he came in, and he had blood on the side of his head, and he was like freaking out, pacing the floors, and he had a gun. So I just woke up, got this gun in my face. And the next thing I know, we're getting into a vehicle.
To your knowledge, did the incident at the Emerald Sands Inn, did that happen before he picked you up?
Yes. Yes. To my knowledge.
All right, where did you go from there?
Maybe going to a small.
Did he stay out in the car?
No. Yeah, he was in Walmart. He was watching me, and I know he could see me in the store. He had somebody with him. They had a gun on me, they're in the back. I didn't even get a good glimpse of who they were or anything. And I had to get in the car and drive. They kind of go to my side.
Where did this other guy you're talking about, where did he come from?
I don't know, and I've never seen him after.
Mary claimed that Billy had threatened to kill both her and her children if she tried to call for help. Her version of events painted her as a victim rather than an accomplice. However, the detectives weren't convinced.
Is there anything else you want to change or alter from what you've told us?
When we got the black one, the person stayed with it.
Mary, listen to me.
Okay.
If I were to tell you that numerous people saw you and Billy following the person in the white car to her home, where the white car was taken, you were with them because you guys were seen together, okay? There wasn't a third person there. It was just you and Billy, right?
But
Okay. Why did you tell me that?
because I'm scared.
Well, I understand you're scared. The truth makes more sense than the story at this point, you know, and
That's the truth.
okay. Well, thank
And
you.
that's the only thing that village knows.
Okay, thank you for being honest.
I'm scared.
I know you are.
After exposing the inconsistencies in Mary's account, the detectives turned up the pressure, shifting the conversation toward the murders, starting with Peggy.
So, Mary, just look at me and let's be honest with each other right now.
No, somebody got hurt.
Okay? What do you remember about that?
Good shot.
You heard a gunshot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Told him fall and gas.
Which car were you driving?
I had to drive the black one. He was in a white one.
And you followed him, and that's when you pulled into a parking lot, you said?
At first, he had me grab some stuff and throw it in there. This when he hit me, and then he goes, no, never mind. And he grabs me and puts me in the white car. It was like he'd have an ice belly, and then you'd have like Jekyll and Hyde. And Hyde, for real.
Pay close attention to how Mary phrases her statements. She consistently portrays every action as something Billy forced her to do, subtly shifting all responsibility onto him.
Yeah.
Told him fall and gas. I had to drive the black one, but he had me grab some stuff.
Mary's carefully constructed narrative was beginning to unravel. Detectives pressed harder, shifting their focus to the other victims.
Understand, these questions we're asking, we pretty much have the answers to them, and we have evidence to back up a lot of the answers we already know about. We just want you to be honest. There's surveillance of both you guys, Billy getting out of the white car and unloading stuff out of the black car. You getting out of the black car and helping to move stuff from the black car to the white car as well, and then you both get in the white car and leave.
I want you to concentrate on that time that you guys got the last car.
I heard a woman. It was not in there. I swear to God, I wasn't in there. I wasn't. Look, I'm telling you, I didn't witness any.
I'm not here to judge you by any means, okay? We just want the truth from you. That's all we're looking to get from you, okay?
At one point, I actually went inside the house.
Okay. And I'm glad that you said that.
She was fighting him. She was mouthy with him. He says, pick up that rope and give it to me. He tied her up, and I just did the bow. In the back, I tied a little bow, to where she could get out.
Now, when Billy tied her up, or when you guys tied her up, because you helped tie her up, you said you tied the bow in the back, even though she could get it out if she wanted to.
Yes.
Okay. Was the guns loaded at that particular time?
Yes, he always got promoted.
He did.
I wasn't in the house though after that. And he made me leave. I went outside and I threw my stuff in the car. And before I could turn around, I hear a gunshot. He comes out and he said she shouldn't backtalk me. She was going to call it out. I couldn't trust her.
After enduring hours of relentless interrogation, Mary eventually broke down in tears.
He's a monster. He's serious about everything he says. He was going to kill me. If I didn't do what he said, only by God's grace am I sitting here today.
Believing they had obtained enough crucial information, detectives brought the interview to a close.
Thank you for your cooperation.
Following her confession, Mary was formally charged with multiple offenses, including accessory after the fact in the murders of Alicia Greer and Jacqueline Moore, capital murder in the death of Peggy Brox, and first-degree murder for the killing of Kayla Crocker. Despite these charges, she continued to assert her innocence while awaiting trial. On September 28, 2018, Mary's trial commenced. Her defense team painted a picture of a woman trapped in a nightmare, forced to comply with Billy Boyette's ruthless demands. They emphasized her history of kindness and compassion, calling witnesses, including her brother Joseph, to vouch for her character.
She was always willing to help someone in need. If a friend had nowhere to go, she'd let them stay over, without asking much questions. That's just who she was.
However, the prosecution countered with a trove of damning video evidence, suggesting that Mary had been an active participant in the crime spree rather than a victim. They also shed light on her relationship with Billy, introducing an array of romantic letters and explicit messages exchanged between the two. The prosecution argued that this exchange proved she was never under any real threat from Billy Boyette. Their case was compelling, and ultimately the jury was convinced.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Mary Rice, guilty of first-degree murder as charged in the indictment.
Mary received a life sentence without the possibility of parole for the murder of Kayla Crocker. Additionally, she was sentenced to 30 more years for acting as an accessory in the killings of Alicia Greer and Jacqueline Moore. She is currently serving her sentence at the Lowell Correctional Institution, but her legal battles aren't over yet. Mary Rice has yet to stand trial for the murder of Peggy Brox. The Baldwin County District Attorney's Office intends to prosecute her separately in Alabama. The only question that remains is when. According to the information that the DA's office got from Florida, Mary Rice would have to serve 80% of her life sentence, or 30 years, before she could be extradited back to Alabama. It could be decades before Mary Rice ever sees an Alabama courtroom again.